Hello and welcome to the tutorial to learn the basics of starting your zoo. Okay, once you have loaded into your zoo, I am just using Sandbox at the moment just for this video, but don't worry, I will show you the best way to make your zoo cost effective. Now, when you load into your zoo, the first thing you're going to see is these alerts. Just ignore them for now, but don't worry, we will address them. First thing I recommend doing is creating a path. I just made it about 6 meters just to have it wide enough so that people can walk. I'm just making the path a little bit longer just so we have something to work with. Now, once we have that, I'm also going to extend the path this way, and I will explain why in a minute why I am doing this. Just a little bit. You don't have to go as far as this, but it depends how you want to make your zoo. But this is just a basics tutorial to get you started. Then, I'm going to select this wood log barrier. You can select any barrier. There are criteria to it, but we're just going to select the wood log just for example. Now, we're gonna make a simple rectangular base. Sorry, habitat. I don't know why I said base. For this animal that we are eventually going to put in. Right, so once you have your barriers up, you are going to need a habitat gate to make it an official habitat that animals can live in. Once you have that habitat gate up, it will highlight like this when you click on the barrier, and it will show you how much space you have in it and everything else that you need to know. So once you have this, I would recommend changing the barriers that are closest to the paths that you just made to glass. This is so when people walk on these paths, they will be able to see the animal. Next, what you're going to do is we are going to build a smaller staff path. I'm going to make it about 4 meters just so that it doesn't take up as much space, because you're not going to need a lot of space for these staff paths. It's just for your staff, of course. Then we're going to extend this out a little bit this way, and this is so we can add our facilities. Here, we're gonna add a keeper hut first. I'm gonna put down the 3 buildings that I recommend that you start with, and I will explain why. So we're gonna put down a keeper hut. We're gonna put down a trade center and a staff room. We can't fit it there, so we're gonna put it right there. No problem. Okay, once you have these 3 buildings down, what these basically do is that this keeper hut allows for your keepers to make the food for the animals and bring it to a habitat. Trade center, these are where the animals that you buy and store are going to be taken from and to your habitats. And then staff room, a place for them to rest because they will need it. Now, you're probably wondering why we're gonna build this all the way out here, and why don't you just build it along this normal path? Well, that is because if you click H on your keyboard and click here on the negative impact, you can see this red circle. The red circle indicates the negativity impact on guests. So if they are within this circle, the guests, it will lower your rating on your zoo. It won't make them as happy. So that's why you're extending it away from their path area. And then I made these staff paths so that the customers will wander down them and get affected by the buildings. That's the beauty of the staff path. Okay, so now that we have everything built, we're gonna add our first animal. Now, before we add it, I want to show you the Zoopedia. This tool will be the best thing for you to use. So we're going to start off with the Arbok just because it is the first animal there. So it shows you the general info of the least concern. This is just for extra knowledge. You don't really need this to play the game. What you do need is to click here on natural habitat. It'll be brought to the screen. Here you can change the number of adults you want to add and the number of juveniles there will be. And it will tell you how much space you need, the temperature, the grade of the barrier, if they need climbing, water, or deep water requirements. Now, to determine how many adults you're going to have and how many juveniles you're going to have, this third tab, the species data, will tell you everything you need to know. So, the group size, it can have up to 1 male and 1 female. This means that there can only be 2 animals in this habitat, despite the children don't count as adults, but when they grow up, you are going to have to take them out. I will show you an example. Okay, so because this habitat is 1 male and 1 female, we're gonna go back over to this tab and we're gonna put 2 adults and see how it says that we need at least 390 land requirement. Now, you're wondering, this doesn't account if or they have kids. So when you go back into your species data, it will show here number of offspring per mating event, 1. So this means they can only have 1 baby per pregnancy. So that is why you're going to put 1 juvenile, and therefore you need a total of 420 land requirement. So now you're going to go to the market, and here you're going to see all the aardvarks that are listed. I'm just going to buy a male and a female. And now that we bought them, we are going to need to hire a keeper and a caretaker. Again, you're gonna get these notifications, but don't worry about it too much for now. This is just the most cost-effective way to start your zoo. The reason you're going to need these 2 employees is because the caretaker, which is this one, is the one that takes the animals from the trade center to your habitat. The keeper is the one that takes care of the animals. Now we are going to move our animals from our trade center storage. We're going to select both of them and we're going to send them to our new habitat. As you can see, the caretaker is bringing the animals to the habitat. And there's our keeper, gonna check on them. And we are good. So now you see we have people already coming in. But we're gonna pause the game and make sure these animals have everything they have so that we don't attract any protesters, because that can get you fined and it will lower the amount of people you have and their happiness. So as you can see, we have a basic aardvark in here. Now, the main things that you're going to need to focus on is shelter, food and water, plants, terrain, and enrichment. Now, I'll explain all these things, don't worry. So, starting off with terrain, you can see here that they need hard shelter and that they aren't too happy with the terrain. There is not enough short grass, there's too much long grass, and not enough soil. So what we're going to do is click on this terrain and we're going to change all of it to short grass, and then we will change it to what is needed. So we're just going to paint this whole thing into short grass. So now we did that, there is too much short grass and not enough long grass. So we're going to make this back portion long grass. You don't have to do it exactly this way. You can mess around with it and put in certain areas. I am just doing this for the sake of tutorial. And now for the soil, we're gonna put some soil in the front here. So now that I have done that, they have all their terrain the way they want it. Now for hard shelter, this is gonna come in the form of the habitat tab. Now, if you click here and you go to shelters, you'll see a lot of different options. Now, any of these shelters will work for this animal, but if you go click this button and you click species, you can select it per animal. And so we are going to place down this one for the animals. Now that they have the shelter, if you click play and pause it, it'll update it showing that there is enough hard shelter. This also shows the land area that they can walk on. Now, the next thing we're going to focus on is inputting food and water. Now, if you click on this tab, it'll show you the bowls and the water. So now we're going to focus on feeding stations. You could put a small bowl or a large bowl. It is up to you, but my personal opinion, if you have more than 2 animals or more, place a large bowl. Then you're going to need a water station. You can put a water bowl, however your keepers will need to refill this every time. So I suggest putting a water pipe because it is an infinite source of water for your animals and it will never get dirty. So we're gonna place that over there. Now, we have food, shelter, and water all sorted. These are the basic needs and this is what they need to live. However, they will get bored. So you're gonna need some enrichment items. There's 3 different types of enrichment: food, toys, and climbable. Now for these guys, if you click on enrichment tab, they need food enrichment and toy enrichment. This basically satisfies these two because these guys aren't climbers, so you won't have to worry about it with these. However, if you get like monkeys or mandrills or chimpanzees, you will need climbable area, but this is just the basics. So for food enrichment, you can choose between any of these. This is for food. So we're gonna put a forage box right here for them, and we're gonna put a termite mound in this corner. As you can see, it updated saying that out of the enrichment, there's 17 out of 8. So the termite mound counts for 9, forage box feeder counts for 8. You just want to get that number into the green and not in the red. Now we're gonna need some toys. You're gonna get a rubbing pad. We can place that over here for them. And a rubber duck, because why not? There we go. After placing those two in, as you can see, it is up in the green, and if you click play and pause, it updates. So now these animals are infinitely happier. Now, these are the true basics of what any animal will need. They will be happy and they will live. However, you also have this tab called environment. We'll show you the coverage that you can have for them and their love for plants. So if you just click on these buttons, it'll automatically select it and sort the plants that they will like. Now, if you don't do this, and let's say you place something that they will not like for example this apple tree, you can see that they do not like this plant as it's from not the same continent they're from, and it will show up as red and it will take away from their happiness. So instead, when you select these things, it will give you plants that they are a fan of. So for the sake of the video, we're just gonna place some random plants around here. You know, maybe give them a little bush in the back here. No problem. We're just going to give them any sort of plant. And now our habitat is looking a lot nicer. Now, as you can see, this coverage bar went up as I placed those plants. This is because if I place too many plants, they don't like it. Their coverage will go over and their plant love will go down. So we do not want to go over that bar so we can keep them happy. So now after doing that, these animals are completely happy and their habitat is done. Now, you see how this nutrition tab has meal quality. These are what the research buildings are for. So if you come into facilities and you have a research center and a workshop. So this research center, if we place one down, we're going to place one down, and we're also going to place a workshop. These buildings. So the research center is for the vet. What it does is that when you have this tab, now I'm playing in sandbox, so all the animals are fully researched. However, when you first start up your zoo and you're a first time player, you will have this is empty. It won't be like this. So when you have a vet, we're gonna hire one right here. Alright. So we've hired a vet. This vet will use the research center to research the animals. What this does is it unlocks the different levels of food and enrichment and fun facts. Also, it gives you education bonuses and breeding research and just things like this that'll help you improve the animal's life and your zoo's quality. Now, because everything is researched, I can show you how to fix this last meal quality. So if you click on that barrier and you go to the animals tab, you will see here grade 1 food quality. This can go all the way up to 3. Now, it does cost more money, and you won't have this option until you fully research the animal, but we're going to change it to grade 3 food quality, so that way when they get fed, they will have high quality food and they will be much happier. As for the workshop, the mechanic is going to be the one to use this, and what the mechanic will research can be the different themes if you have DLCs, or for the basis you can research food shops, habitats, power, shelters and climbing, souvenir shops, staff facilities, and transport rides. These are all different things, but these will all help you improve your zoo. Now that you have your first habitat set up, these guys are pretty happy roaming around. Now you will make money for the people entering your zoo, but the most beneficial way to make money is through donation bins. So now we're gonna go into facilities here and we're gonna search up donation. Now we have these things called donation boxes. You should learn this in the tutorial, but I will review it just to help you out. If we place a few down, you are going to want to place them around the habitat, because if you place it too far away, they won't donate. They will most likely donate around the habitat. And then you're also going to want some education boards, and I will show you what these do in a second. I like to place them around my donation bins, but you can place them wherever you want around your habitat. Now, after having some of these, you're gonna click on them and then change them to the animal that is in your habitat so that they will display the information and you can get your education level up on your zoo. After changing that to aardvarks, which is what's in here, your education level will go up. Now these donation bins will go straight to your funds, and this is how you will earn majority of your money. So these are very crucial, and make sure not to forget them. I always recommend starting with aardvarks because they draw a lot of attention to your zoo, which brings you in a lot of people. They're also really easy to purchase in the animal trading center. Because I'm sandbox, it is limited, but in a real franchise zoo there will always be ton. Now after letting the game run for a bit, you can see that people are throwing money into the donation bins, therefore making a lot more money. This one only has 80 because not many people, these people just threw in money, and it went up to 460. You can build as many habitats as you like, but after a while the people are going to start complaining about not having food or thirst or toilets. So what you're gonna do is we're gonna extend this path a little bit just so I can show you the best way to add these things in. So for shops, which include food, drinks, bathrooms, and merchandise, you're gonna come here into facilities, click on guest facilities, and everything will show up here. So for finance, you have ATMs. You're gonna want to place down 1 or 2 of these, and I would gradually build up and place more as they demand more. But starting off, you're only gonna really need 1 or 2. Next, let's start by adding drink stalls. So let's add a milkshake and a water. We're gonna place them right next to each other, and then we're gonna put in some food stalls. Let's put in a chief beef and an ice cream. And then for merchandise, let's go with balloons and just a memento. Okay, so now you have all these shops open. These are your food, these are your drinks, and these are your merchandise. I wouldn't recommend purchasing all of these off at the beginning because these do cost a lot. It is around 2,000 per building, and you're not going to have that much money to start with. So I would add these after adding like 2 or 3 more habitats. Make sure you're in good financial place before purchasing any of this stuff. Now I would always recommend placing a little bit away from your main path because a line will form, and if the line goes into the main path, the guests will start complaining about it being too crowded. So always place it a little bit away from the path just to make room for the line. Now if you click play, you can see how these three remain open but these 3 close. This is because these facilities have no power. The base of the entrance gives off a natural power, but because it is out of this circle, they are closed. So what we're going to need to do is we need to go into facilities and then utilities. Here you will when you start out, you will only see the transformer and water treatment. I'm pretty sure you will see the temperature regulator too. These wind turbines and these solar panels are because of the research that the mechanic will do on this power, which will give you these two. But starting off, we're going to use a transformer. As you can see, it is a pretty big radius. Now, this transformer also gives off negative impact on guests, so I wouldn't advise placing it close to the regular path because it'll affect your customers. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our buildings are in radius, and let's make sure, so around here works for the power, and the negative impacts, by the way, I am pressing H to activate the heat map and turn it off. And let's place it right here. We're gonna place it there just so it powers the buildings, but it is also away from the guests. Don't forget to add a staff path to your main path because the mechanic will need to fix this every now and again because the operational bar will go down over time. So now that I have this, if you click play, these shops are back open. So now after having this open, people will gradually start coming to them. As you can see, a line starts to form, which would have ended up being in your main path if you built it too close. So now that these people are buying things, they are going to want to have a place to throw it away. So now you're going to go into facility and you're going to type in bins or bin. And all these options are going to come up because of the DLCs, but if you're just starting off, you're only going to have these two. You don't have to place both of these bins down. It doesn't really do anything. However, if you want to place it down for aesthetics, you can, but this bin is cheaper than the recycling one. So we're just going to place down this regular bin for now. And we're just going to place a few along the path just so people do not litter. Because if they litter, it will also create a negative impact on the guests. So you want to make sure there are trash cans all over your zoo because people do litter a lot. So you're gonna make sure there's a lot of trash cans. So now that we have this, the next thing we are going to add is a bathroom. So we're gonna add a regular toilet block for the people. And we're gonna place that right there. After placing the bathrooms down, that is the basics of Planet Zoo. I hope this was helpful, and if you want more detailed tips and tricks, feel free to check out my other videos. Hope you enjoy it, and thank you for watching.